Hello and welcome to another episode of Bobcat Academy. I'm here with my colleague Frederic, our IoT engineer at Bobcat.
Hello, everybody.
Frederic, as you know that episode 7 is all about using the Helium network. So we're actually going to play an internal team meeting recording that we did a while ago. And you were actually the host of that meeting and shared with us a really exciting LoRaWAN project you did using the Helium network. So tell us a bit more about that.
All right, so we are always talking about Helium and HNT, but the technology for IoT hotspots is based on LoRa. LoRa is a long-range modulation. Lo stands for long and RA stands for range. So it's like a way to reach further and further using little power as possible. And based on LoRa, we have LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN is a solution for connectivity. So you are able to do like a worldwide network, which can be used by thousands of devices. So this technology is an enabler for low-cost IoT. So the experiment we are going to show you has been done and with under $100 of budget. So you can do like a lot of things with LoRaWAN. And this is like my second high altitude balloon. And I hope you enjoy the recording.
Well, thank you. Before that, I also want to mention that the reason we want to play this recording and kind of share the team learning experience with all of our audience is that now we're kind of heading into a crypto winter, and many people have fear, doubts, and uncertainties, uncertainty, and doubts about the sustainability of the network and its health, whether the hotspots are online or not working. And I think this is really understandable, and it's natural to worry about things when there are negative signs. However, the Helium network, especially the Helium IoT network, is very much alive and used. And we have seen it for ourselves. We have done some experiments and projects, and this is the reason why we want to show this recording to everyone.
So let's start. So the topic today is high altitude balloons. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt. I will be pleased to answer them. So let's start. So we dive right into it. This is like what is called the payload. So basically it is what is attached to the balloon. So we can see the antenna for the LoRaWAN part, for the GPS. Here is like a temperature sensor. So here is like a battery which is specified to be used in extreme cold conditions. So we can see it's only 16 grams, which is not a lot. So it's perfect. So I choose this antenna for the LoRa part because it was like really tiny and also lightweight. But when I measured it with my VNA, I found out it was completely off-tuned. It should be like right in the center. So then I took my cutting tools and I remove this part on the top. And right there you have like a perfectly tuned antenna. So for like €1, I have like a really great antenna I can use on my payloads. So here's like the payload again. And this time I'm like seeking for the GPS fix. So you can see it's like it's plugged in. Basically, before I launched the balloon, I made sure it has like a GPS connection.
Hey Fred, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, when it comes to you tuning that antenna,
Yeah.
so basically were you just cutting off a little bit of the inductance? Is that why that worked? Or why is it that that worked? Because I saw there were a few extra coils.
So basically, usually when you get a stock antenna, it's like perfect in theory, you know. So they made like a calculations and everything, so it should be perfect. But in reality, it's usually not, because you have a lot of things around which interfere with the theoretical properties of the antenna. So even the wrap around the shrink wrap around the antenna can completely modify the frequency response. So you remove little by little, you analyze on your VNA, and as you remove it, you are seeking for that perfect middle.
Okay, thank you. So it's like it's basically the electromagnetic, is it the magnetism that you're removing at that point?
Basically, you are trying to have as little reflection as possible on the frequency you want to use. So if you remove the reflection, you get more signal. So basically, that's it. Okay, so let's move. Here on my notes, you can see like the density of the helium gas. So basically, it's like lighter than air, so that's why you get some lift. So for 1 liter of helium, you get approximately 1 gram lift. So when you think about it, it's not a lot. So you have to always cut corners because you always need to have the lighter payload. So basically, that's my first balloon. You only see like a weight that is slightly lifted off, and you can see it's like minus 9.555 grams. So my goal was to reach for minus 10 grams because you don't want to have too much helium either, because if you have too much helium, the balloon can inflate too much and then burst. So here you can see everything on the paper. Each balloon has so much lift, the payload in grams, the payload from the battery weight as well. So I calculated I have about 5 grams of free lift. So it's like the ideal situation. So here's the payload connected to the balloon. So I made sure so everything that I add is as lightweight as possible. So here we can see like the launching site, perfectly clear. This is very important because it can easily get catched in trees or anything. So that's the final balloon. So it's always hard to do such things because you always have like a wind in front of you. So you have to like wait for the perfect moment so you can release the balloon. When you look at on the side, you see it's like it's not going very quickly in the air. So basically you really have to make sure there is nothing in the way. So I don't know if you already seen this, but thanks to Adoni and his drone, we have been able to capture this beautiful footage of France and the high altitude balloon. So you can see the forest around is like the forest of Versailles, which is like a famous castle here in France. So we can see it's like getting higher and higher. So this day wasn't really windy, and we will see what can I say? We will see the results on the balloon because I had like it's not my first balloon. It was like my second balloon, and the first one there was much more wind and it was going much more faster, like about 3 times faster. We can see the balloon going away. Then we can move to the data collection part. So I use like one of these, which is about $30. I removed everything on it, like I removed the screen, I removed any part that I wasn't needed, and even on the, like here you can see like the data sheet. I powered directly from the VDD pins, so I don't have to use like a lithium-ion battery, because this battery don't resist to the cold. So if you send using like a regular battery, you're not getting data because once it's up there, it's so cold, immediately it cuts the voltage and you don't get anything. So here's like the data sheets of the inside of the cube cell. And here's like the kind of battery I used. So basically, it's like the battery they use for aerospace technology. So everything you want to send in space when you need like a really high energy density, because you want something lightweight, but something with like long-lasting capabilities, and more importantly, it is resistant from extreme cold. So it can work up to minus 60 degrees centigrade, minus, yes, you can see right there. Okay, let me move a bit my desk a little bit. All right, so here's like the datasheet for the temperature sensor I used. Initially, I wanted to send the cube cell bare, but I think the more data, the more interesting the experiment is. So I think having the temperature was like a nice addition. So here's like the code for the cube cell. So we can see right there, we are encoding the data we are interested in. So latitude, longitude, altitude, number of satellites, the battery voltage, and the temperature. So we are encoding everything in like a really small form factor, because when you send data over LoRaWAN, you want to have like as little data as you want. You have to like concentrate everything. So we can see it as like a loop. Every minute it's sending the message. Then this is like, I studied a little bit the GPS data message. So in an effort to conserve energy, I found that this encoding for the GPS messages was like the most efficient. So you have only what you need and nothing else. So here we are in the Helium console. We can see I added the device on the console, and most interesting, we can see how much data credits have been used on the experiment. So it's like a huge number. It's almost like $1 worth of data credits, and it's flown for like 3 hours. Okay, so we can see here how the data is flowing from the high altitude device to the custom decoder. So basically, let me show you this. You take the payload and you translate it into humanly understandable data. So we send to cargo, TTN. I also send to my custom integrations, which I'm going to show. So here's like my custom integration. So basically, it takes the data from Helium with MQTT, and it also has HTTP in, because last time I did my experiment, I used only MQTT, and the payload were so big, so there was like so much Helium gateways receiving my payload, the MQTT wasn't able to handle the size of the packet, because it reported like 500 gateways on each packet. So I had to do like a redundant data intake, and if like the data is like good with HTTP, I just drop the data coming from MQTT so I don't get duplicates. So I have like a redundancy, so nothing gets lost. Here is like the decoding part. So just as well as on the Helium console, here I have like my own in-house decoding system. Then the data flows to this part. So it's completely processed. For each device, I have like, each device has its special programmation. And the point of this is to get the data in the system, like it flows to InfluxDB database, as well as going to a Telegram bot, so I can follow in real time. So let me show you what it looks like. So this is like the Telegram bot. So it was like, we can see the speed, number of satellites, altitude, number of receiving hotspots, also the temperature. Here it's in degrees centigrade. We can also see the voltage of the battery, and behind it all the receiving hotspots. And with the kitten, it's like my own hotspot. So here, this is the results from my first balloon launch. We can see the best distance I did was 350 kilometers approximately. It was like a great first balloon, but my regret was it didn't get the GPS signal enough. So I only have like a few data points with the GPS for the balloon. However, I was able to see all the hearing hotspots around who got the packet. So it was from Paris to Amsterdam, so hundreds of kilometers. So I was pretty happy with this, but I wanted to do more. So here are the pictures for the first balloon. And my mistake was I used foil balloons. These were recommended by a fellow balloonist, but unfortunately, it had like a side effect. They do look pretty, but they also block the GPS signal. So I made sure to use clear balloon on this flight. So this balloon you can find on AliExpress for a few bucks each. They cost pretty much nothing. So here is the data from my last flight, which was quite successful. I'm quite happy about it because we can see all the data points, which is like all the trajectory of the balloon. We can see it reach London, Belgium, Paris, and almost reach in Switzerland. So it's quite nice to me. Here we can see the altitude from the launch to the cruise altitude. So for about half an hour, it was like cruising in the air at approximately this distance in meters, you can see. And when it was high up, it was around minus 31 degrees centigrade, which is like extreme cold. From there, I wanted to do some little bit of data science. So here we can see the average hotspot receiving distance correlated with the altitude. So we can see the much higher we go, the longer it reaches. We can also see the maximum receiving distance, and it peaked here around 511 kilometers. And the good news is, no, I will show you this just after this. Okay, so we can also see the battery voltage dropping. So we can see it drops dramatically, even though the battery is made for extreme cold. You have to take into account, you will have to deal with reduced capacity. It's better to have like a reduced capacity than no capacity, but I was expecting a lot more hours of data, but it's like 3 hours, it's not so bad. So we can maybe think that the balloon is still flying right now and it's just not sending, but maybe it's still flying. I cannot know. We can see also how much GPS satellites were giving us the GPS location. So it's pretty much stable. The speed of the balloon as well. So it was only 30 kilometers on my last 30 kilometers per hour. On my last flight, I was about 90 kilometers per hour. And also on my last flight, it was going completely in the opposite direction. Okay, so we also see it traveled about 60 kilometers of recorded data, because it probably have traveled a lot more. Okay, here we can see the receiving hotspots. So we can see like huge distances, and interestingly enough, the hotspot with the biggest distance is like from us. It's from Bobcat. So it was like really nice to see this.
Okay, that was a fun learning experience for sure. I remember when we first watched the presentation, it was really fascinating to see from your initial preparation from sensors and trackers to ultimately visualizing all the data.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about my next balloon launch, because on this in this launch, as you can see, I only got like 3 hours of data. So I built another payload for the next launch, and this one is going to use a solar panel and actually no lithium battery, just supercapacitors. So in theory, it could work for months, but maybe it's going to work for a day or two. Who knows? That's the beauty of the experiment. So I also wanted to talk about the state of the Helium network. So as we all know, right now, crypto is like it's not going well. But at the same time, the Helium network, the IoT LoRaWAN network from Helium is working amazing. Like it hasn't been working so good because I always do mapping with my mapping devices. And what I figured out from giving all these GPS trackers to people I know is the coverage is getting better and better. So I think instead of looking at the downside, we can look at the upside, which is we built the biggest LoRaWAN network in the world.
Hopefully our audience likes this one, and maybe we can even do more on Helium LoRaWAN use cases in the future, sensors and solutions. And I mean, like people always say, and Amir always says that, you know, we're still early and it was a chicken and an egg problem, but it's less and less so. And I think it's people kind of need to sort of just see more examples like this. And that's why we thought, oh, you know, actually we did that project a really, really long time ago. And it was like an excellent learning opportunity for the team members ourselves, because I mean, you have done it and you showed us and we're like, wow, and you know, it's really amazing. Like one tracker can just reach so many hotspots in Europe. And it was also like really, it was like really amazing to see actually the furthest reaching hotspot it was a Bobcat hotspot. So that was also, you know, something fun for us to see. So hopefully our audience liked this episode, and we would also like to make more content about how we use the Helium network. So thank you so much for joining the episode, Frederic, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.